All right, welcome back to Snackcast.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man. First Snackcast of 2023. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I was about to say 2022.
You know. And I turn 50 this weekend.
Woo! Old man River.
I know, right? So, we are moving through Dr. Palmer's book, Brain Energy.
This was a tough chapter. I thought it wrapped up well, but it was...
It's too long.
It was too long, and I think that there was you could have wrapped it up pretty quickly.
So again, we've mentioned that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I think the writing style maybe just doesn't resonate with Kevin and I like it probably does other people.
Right.
So trying not to, be critical, but it's just, I think, maybe not our cup of tea. The deep dives, they're very deep dives.
Right. So literally this chapter in a nutshell is mitochondrial dysfunction or dysregulation can cause 5 distinct mechanisms that can lead to mental illness. Pretty much doesn't matter.
Yeah. He's actually stealing that straight from the book.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
Yeah. They can lead to mental disorder of all kinds, right? So he's basically throwing that out there, right? So cell activity can become overreactive, right? Overactive. That's things like ADHD, right? It's misfiring of the brain. Some cells can be underactive. That's depression, right? Some of those. Some cells can be developed abnormally. That can lead to from pregnancy in the womb and brain doesn't develop functionally.
And that one's really interesting because in that section, it talked about there's only so much of a window where that development can happen. And if it gets diminished or something happens inside that window, there's really no recovery of that.
Right. Yeah, you're autism. And that's what they're talking about, autism. So some cells can develop abnormally, leading to, we talked about the absent brain function. Cells can shrink and die, and that's situations like Alzheimer's, right?
Atrophy. Yep.
Atrophy. And then cells can have problems maintaining themselves. I guess that leads to things like delirium and situations like that. But he tries to really kind of pull this all in and go, mitochondrial is energy problems in the brain.
Which is metabolic.
And leads to pretty much every mental illness there is. And it really doesn't matter why, so, I guess.
I did highlight.
Maybe I'm putting words in his mouth, but that's my take on it.
Early in the chapter, because he's making the point that it is a common pathway. And he says the specific psychiatric disorders in which mitochondrial dysfunction has been identified. So other research is already demonstrating this stuff. And it includes, the length of this list is what got to me. Schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, bipolar disorder, major depression, autism, anxiety disorders, obsessive compulsive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, anorexia nervosa, alcohol use disorder, marijuana use disorder, opioid use disorder, and borderline personality disorder. No, you're out of order. So,
and he talked about a bunch of the studies that, I'm not going to go into all of them, but there was a bunch of different studies that he listed that showed, for instance, in people that died with Alzheimer's, they had autopsies that they did, and they came back and showed these mitochondrial issues that these people were having. So it's, he's basically saying these are proven, and there's a lot of studies that were done like 1926. One of them,
right.
One was 1950.
Right.
He's like, this isn't new information. I don't think he's throwing a conspiracy theory out there yet, but he's like, this is clearly has been studied before.
Right.
So.
Right. So it seems like these 8 chapters have really thoroughly and deeply laid the groundwork for
thoroughly
section 3 of the book, which section 3 is titled Causes and Solutions. So, I guess just as a section 1 and 2 recap, mitochondria all the things they do, their role in metabolism, and then the role that mitochondria and metabolism have in all of this portfolio of mental illness disorder types.
This chapter wasn't the worst one for me. I think there was other ones that were, maybe it was for you. You were probably expecting something a little different.
It was an hour and a half in audio or audible.
Yeah.
My mitochondria does not function correctly, and you can't keep my focus that long.
One of the things that I really took out of this, there was two things: that people with mania clearly have too much mitochondrial energy, and people with depression clearly don't have enough, right? So you're not at that optimum state when it comes to mitochondria and the energy to the cells, and you're either too much or too little, and it's a very delicate balance.
And that in large part goes back to the ATP and it was it ADP, and so the creation and elimination of each and keeping that proper balance, which is very much at the mitochondrial level.
And I don't know if he's going to go here or not, but clearly diet's going to play a role in this, I imagine. He mentions we're going to talk about that in the cases and solutions, but and he said it's some of the things that you might think. So I haven't skipped over, but I know people with mental illnesses, and I absolutely see some of the crash and burn when their diet isn't correct, when they haven't been exercising and doing the things that they need to do. You see that kind of crash and burn, and I imagine he's going there.
I think that's where it goes to, and of course I follow him on Twitter, so I probably get sneak peeks in the forward parts of the book that
other people haven't.
If you're not familiar with Dr. Palmer.
Well, it's pretty, I was going to call it a pretty quick chapter, but it wasn't a quick chapter. It was a quick synopsis.
Yeah, and I was thinking to myself as I finished it that I could have just read that in a nutshell portion.
Right.
That's how I like information delivered. Bam, bam, bam.
Yep.
So, anyways.
Right. Yeah. Part 3, causes and solutions, tomorrow.
How many chapters are in part 3? Holy schmoly.
Yeah, I think we're about halfway through the book.
We're in chapter 8, and the book ends around chapter 21.
Oh, we might have to double up.
Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see. Of course, I'm excited to get into the solutions. We talked about that one or two Snackcasts ago.
Show me the money.
Right? I
get it.
Show
me the money.
It's broken.
Right?
How do we fix it? It's like a conversation with my wife. She wants to thoroughly explain it. I'm just tell me what I did wrong.
Right?
So, all right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Questions, comments, concerns, hit us at snackcast@yes.fit.
Stay moving.
See ya.